Hello, audible members of the clan. So welcome to my YouTube channel. So I cannot go to the Madanga Commission of Inquiry today because we have witness M, who apparently is a very sensitive witness. Not that the person is sensitive, but the circumstances surrounding the witness M is quite sensitive. It even involves security, not only security for him or her, but for the family and everybody that they know. But from what we understand, though, he has some tea with receipts, and it involves the most prominent of people in this country. So because the whole testimony is going to be in camera, that means we cannot hear or see anything that he is going to be testifying. I don't have a problem with that. You guys already know I'm number one when it comes to safety and security of a witness. Number two, if intelligence is involved, I like to keep away from knowing the details. I think even with Faroz Khan, I'm not that into his testimony because I don't want to hear everything. Maybe I want to protect myself, I don't know. But I just respect the principle of secrecy when it comes to sensitive issues that might actually even affect you and I's mental health. So it's important that we also protect our mental health. Recently, the Madanga Commission of Inquiry has started to take that toll on a lot of South Africans. Like, well, I cannot take this anymore. I cannot watch the Madanga Commission anymore. And it makes sense to me, 100%. But okay, this video was not about that. I just wanted to let you know why I'm not going to be commenting on the Madanga Commission of Inquiry today, because it's in camera with witness M. But I was watching the live streaming of March and March taking the president and others to court on an urgent application regarding the national dialogue. So conveniently, in the national dialogue, there are some nominees and appointments that are being done. And of course, as you know, in the national dialogue, we want everything that is problematic to South Africans under the South African sun discussed and resolved. That also includes illegal immigrants. Yeah, the media keeps saying, what do they keep saying? Anti-immigrants. But that is one day they'll be judged. History will judge the current media. But anyways, we're also hearing in the Madanga Commission what sort of media and journalists we got, but I'm not there. So as I was listening, I kept asking myself, why is this government? Oh yeah, before I get to my question. So it turns out that as they were busy making appointments out of nominations of who are the people that are going to be in the steering committee organizing or going to be part of the panel, I'm not quite sure, because I was trying to listen as hard as I can as to what is exactly the problem here. So it turns out that the whole immigration issue, meaning March and March, is not appointed, because that's what they are about. They are about illegal foreigners that the government have created for South Africa. But that was conveniently removed. And that is when March and March leader Jacinta Ngobese Zuma went and lodged an urgent application. And in that application, she made a prayer that this matter must be included in the invitation or in the appointment or nomination, whatever the case might be, meaning that March and March must be part of the national dialogue, not as an audience member that is given the mic and say, okay, what are your thoughts about what the panel of whatever these people are called? No, they don't want that. They want to be there inside Pakati so that they can also influence the national dialogue when it comes to illegal foreigners in South Africa and the things that poor black South Africans go through, because in these days we have to be very specific. What are you talking about? Because they keep throwing the white people at us, and yet the white people, they're not in our clinics, they're not in our schools, they're not in our communities, they are not selling drugs to our children, they are not kidnapping our children and girls, they are not causing havoc, making the cities filthy, all of those things. They're not doing it. But they're saying we need to focus our attention there. So if they want us to focus our attention there, why don't you focus your attention there? We are going to focus our attention where we are affected. If we go to a clinic and this clinic line is from here to Timbuktu, and then all the people that are there, in the majority, are illegal foreigners, what are we supposed to do? When we get to the doctor eventually, and the doctor's like, well, I'm knocking out, and by the way, medication is finished. Come back next month. Is that what we're supposed to endure? I don't know if you are noticing recently, nurses from different clinics and hospitals are sharing. Some are saying they are bored because there's no work. Why? Because South Africans are not at the clinic, which goes to show that all this time, people are coming to this country not only to compete for general work with the South Africans that need to start work, but they're also coming here to compete with us in our healthcare system, because they think all that medication, they label it as free. They say it's free. And when you explain to them that South Africa is not a banana republic, it's got systems. And one of the systems that we have put in place is tax collection. And that's where the medication is coming from. It's not free. There are South Africans that wake up every morning, either as entrepreneurs or as general workers or whatever the case might be. And then at the end of the month, SARS comes and say, oh, give to Kasari what belongs to Kasari. And then that money then buys medication they think is free. Some even go as far as saying, oh, it's free, it's coming from the US, it's coming from there. Nah. Even that little 5% that we were getting from the US through PEPFAR and US aid, Donald Trump came and said, I'm chopping it off. Because he's got some agenda with South Africa. He cut it off. And who had to fill in that 5 to 8% of that aid? South Africa. It was us. Yeah, the xenophobic ones. The ones that don't care. The ones that hate fellow black people. And yet it is us who wake up in the morning, go to work, and at the end of the day, they take from us so that we can feed you, keep you healthy. It's interesting. It's absolutely interesting. So now the question that I was asking myself as I was watching these proceedings, who subjected us, or who consulted with us about pan-Africanism? Because I'm beginning to hear things coming out from the president and some ministers that we are pan-Africanist. Hang on. So because we are pan-Africanist, we should accept rubbish. We should look the other way, because if we say something, it will be un-pan-Africanists. I want to know, please put it in the comment section, because probably I was living under a rock when we were subjected to this pan-Africanism. And also, under the same comment section, do you accept or reject pan-Africanism as is? Because clearly pan-Africanism only happens in South Africa. And I'll explain what do I mean about pan-Africanism. So the deadline of the 30th of June was announced. All illegal foreigners must leave South Africa. So now, how is it pan-Africanism or pan-Africanists for Nigeria to say only Nigerians are going to climb on Peace Airline and taking them to back to Nigeria. Same goes with Ghana. Ghana said Ghanaians, and they even vetted to make sure that anybody and everybody that walked into that plane was a Ghanaian and respectively Nigerian. Why Ghana and Nigeria did not work with each other? Because they are pan-Africanists. Zimbabweans and Malawians, they are next door neighbors, not that far from each other. Why did not coordinate and say, okay, even Zimbabweans and Malawians can mix in this one bus and we'll take them because we are African unity. We are pan-Africanists. Why is it convenient suddenly not to be pan-Africanist when now you have to evacuate your own people? Why don't you just mix them up? Y'all all come from the same region, West Africa. And what kind of pan-Africanism is this that Northern Africa couldn't, and adamantly so, couldn't be bothered about pan-Africanism? And yet they are on the African continent, no matter what their mental health is telling them about their position. They're still Africans on the African continent. Convince me personally, that Pan-Africanism is a real thing by incorporating, and they agree to it and put it into practice, that they are also Pan-Africanist. Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, Niger, all these countries. That also includes Somalia and Ethiopia. They don't consider themselves Africans, by the way, or black for that matter.
We are Somalis, not black. There, I said it.
But they are on the African continent. So why must this Pan-Africanism be dumbed down on South Africans' throats? Why are we being beaten to submission to accept this? Because now it's reflecting in the, what's the word I'm looking, paralysis of our government in serving South Africans and even putting South Africans first. It looks like this Pan-Africanism in their heads, these guys, it triggers in hating South Africans, our own government that we voted for. Not these Africans that are coming down to South Africa. They did not vote for them. We the ones that vote, but for some reason, and if you look at the incident that happened in Bellville, Cape Town, where a group of Somali women carrying weapons to attack South Africans, did you see it in the news? I know I'm asking a serious question. Did you see it in the news? Did you see breaking news? No, because it is Somali doing that to a South African. But if it's the other way around, we will not be hearing the end of it even today. And this happened how many days ago? Yeah. We will not be hearing the end of it from our own South African media, African media, and also Sky News. Why? Because we are so hated. For what reason? For what reason? Nigeria just, its fourth flight, I suppose, of repatriatees or returnees, they are speaking so ill of us. This one woman even said that she came to South Africa to join her husband, and then she gave birth in a hospital here in South Africa because she had a lot of hemorrhaging during her birth. The nurses made her clean her own. Like, what? In South Africa, where healthcare is the cardinal sin if you commit against it, a nurse will tell you clean, and all the other nurses that are doing the rounds will actually see a whole woman that just gave birth wiping her own liquid from the floor. Do you see the lies that these people tell? But you know what? God is not stupid. lie on us, you are bringing calamity in your own life. Don't come back later and say, oh, South Africa, I know I was lying on you. You know you are lying. Why must you wait until bad luck is following you? And then you start thinking, maybe it's because I lied on South Africa. Why are you lying? Why are you lying? How is that pan-Africanism? Or pan-African? I don't know how to even call these pronouns. Why are you lying? And then another gentleman from Kenya. You know what? I still love Kenyans. Kenyans, if you are watching my channel, I still love you. But I think amongst y'all, you got wolves, raised by a pack of wolves. Because them too, South Africa in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, started having visa-free entry for Kenyans and South Africans. I can understand when a young Kenyan man takes a flight and say, hey, let me go to South Africa and get a stamp upon arrival and I'll be there for 3 months. I would not blame you. You are adventurous, you are young, you are probably going to get an opportunity to scour and find business opportunities in South Africa. There's no problem with that. But where it becomes a problem is when you take that decision to turn something so beautiful, free entry into each other's country, and then you turn it into something ugly. You become illegal. You overstay. And then from there, when things don't work out for you and South Africans are saying every illegal foreigner out, then you make an intention to return, and then Kenya, the government, repatriates you to Kenya. And when the cameras are rolling, you lie. You lie. And thank goodness that there are really, really good Kenyan journalists. Journalists that ask real questions, unlike Ghana and Nigeria. I don't know what they are running there. I don't know exactly what they are running there. But it was very important to ask this question. When did you get to South Africa, and on what visa did you get to South Africa? And did you renew the visa when you got there? This Kenyan young man, number one, he says he came to South Africa on a visitor's visa. And then he overstayed because he looked for a job, and he got a job at some online company. We know what online company is. Nigerians recruiting other Africans to love scam. That's what he was doing. Kenyans, that dude. Do you see he's tarnishing your global image? And you need to call him out. Y'all need to call him out. He's a criminal. Not only he became a criminal the day he decided, I'm going to stay from day 91, because from day 91, you've overstayed. You are given 90 days. And then you decide, I'm going to stay, I don't know, infinity. And in South Africa, and I'll tell you right now, in South Africa, without ID, even for us South Africans, without an ID, you are as good as dead. Even for us. Because you can't open a bank account without an ID. Or a valid international documentation of some sort, like a business visa. And definitely you cannot open a bank account in South Africa on a visitor's visa. It has to be a visa that will allow you some sort of longevity in South Africa, like a business, retirement, work permit, things of that nature. But on a visitor's visa for 90 days, you cannot open a bank account here in South Africa for that. And on top of that, you cannot, without your ID, go to a clinic or hospital. You cannot. And there are many things in South Africa you cannot do without an ID, even getting a job. You cannot. So how is it possible that, and on top of that, if you're not a South African, Because he says that, no, he came here on a visitor's visa and he was hoping that he will turn that into a work permit. It's not done that way. To get a work permit, you should have hopped on a plane back to Kenya and go to the South African embassy and apply for a work permit in South Africa. Not when you are in South Africa and then apply for a work permit in South Africa. It doesn't work like that, because there are requirements that South Africa is going to want from you in order for you to be granted a work permit. One of that is that you already have a company that has hired you, and here's the motivation letter, or here's the letter of employment that you're going to have to submit to the embassy of South Africa. And don't think you are going to be smart about it by creating a fake letter, because that company, number one, should be registered in South Africa. And when the embassy does its vetting and calls the company, and then you don't pop up, you've committed fraud. You committed fraud. So that is why you need to go back home. Every time when your visa is about to expire and you're still interested in staying in South Africa, go back home. Start that whole process that you did that got you to South Africa in the first place. And if you want to convert that into a work visa, look for a job while you are at home. Get employed or appointed while you're at home, because you're going to take that to the embassy. He was illegally in South Africa, and he has the audacity to expose himself the way he did and thinks it's going to play bad on us. We've done nothing wrong. Follow the South African immigration laws. That's all. That's all we are saying. They're talking about even the Kenyan, one Kenyan news station used the word violence. A whole TV channel, news channel to be specific, saying and putting South Africa in the same sentence as violence, and he still has not shown the violence. Still not shown. We're not talking about some videos of another country with a yellow number plate of a vehicle, or plate number of a vehicle. We don't have yellow plate numbers in South Africa. We did back in the day. Now it's 30 years since then. And then you say this is South Africa. And yet the environment doesn't scream South Africa either. So Kenyans, get these wolves together so that other wolves that try to come to South Africa using the visa-free entry, not to do this nonsense. It only bounces back at you guys. You're going to be seen as liars. That's what this guy has done to y'all. And South Africans got angry. And I'm like, no, don't get angry at every Kenyan just because somebody was raised by a pack of wolves is coming and lying on South Africans. And on top of that, he even caught himself on his own lie, because that journalist did a great job. And even though she did not challenge him, and maybe did afterwards, I don't know, but she got what she wanted out of him. The lies that he told. So now I'm asking fellow South Africans, where were you when we were told that we are now pan-Africanists? And where were we when we were told that when our fellow Africans do wrong by us, we must look the other way, turn the other cheek? And lastly, when are we going to remove this government of pan-Africanism? Because clearly they are paralyzed by pan-Africanism. Hence, they take no action. They consider Somalis Africans, and yet Somalis are very clear. They are not Africans. They are not black.
We are Somalis, not black. There, I said it.
And yet South Africa is saying, no, by force, you are us. Ethiopians, same story. When are we going to do that? When are we going to do that? Because for this government to be able to work for us, it needs to abandon this pan-Africanism until it is what it's supposed to be. As it stands right now, It is against South Africans. It's calling South Africans all kinds of names, and it paralyzes our government from acting and putting South Africans first. That is why Jacinta Ngobese Zuma had to go to court on an urgent basis to say illegal immigration is going to be part and parcel of this national dialogue. Well, fortunately, she won. She won because it was resolved. I guess the president gave an order and said, okay, we will include them. And so an order was made that they are going to be included. Why must we do this all the time? Why? You deliberately removing illegal foreigner segment of the national dialogue, and yet they are a problem in this country. No, because we are pan-Africanists. No, we cannot touch them. Mina, I reject pan-Africanism outright as it stands. Outright. Outright. It's not serving me. It's not. Instead, it's making people feel entitled to what my family went through and many other black families in this country. No way. I reject it. You're an African, you come from your African country, and that's where it ends. If you want to come to South Africa for a visit, cool. Once you're done, fuck off. That's it. I am not going to accept pan-Africanism. I reject it outright. Outright. Anyways, fellow South Africans, I thought, let's talk about this because it's a question I was asking. Maybe you guys were conscious when we were turned into pan-Africanists. I reject it. I'll see you next time with a new one. Goodbye.